Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. It looks like we have a lot of flight attendants on who want some answers to the many questions that have been sent in to us. We really thank you for sending those questions in ahead of time. Before we get started today, I'm Julie Hedrick. I'm the APFA National President, and we're going to go around the room and have everyone introduce themselves so that you know who's answering the questions today.
Hi, I'm Kathy Sharp. I'm the APFA Health Chair.
Hi, I'm Belia Paxson, and I'm the IOD Chair.
Hi, I'm Jeff Peterson, and I'm the APFA National Contract Chair.
And I'm Marty McMillan. I'm the National Scheduling Chair.
I'm Renee Mayer. I'm the JCBA Specialist.
Hi, everyone. I'm Josh Black, APFA National Secretary.
Okay, and on video today, virtually, we have Kim Tuck. She's also going to be helping us answer questions today on retirement, and we do have a lot of questions on retirement. So before we get started today, I'm going to answer a few of the questions generally. One is we've received many questions about another VOP, and I can tell you I have asked the company numerous times and told them there is quite a bit of interest in another VOP, and at this point they have said no. At this point, the answer to me has been that we need all of the flight attendants that we have on staff, and that they, at this point, will not be offering another VOP. Now, does that mean I'm going to stop asking? No, it does not. So I will continue to ask, as all of us have been through this past year. We don't know exactly. We're not still in an uncertain time, and we will continue to try and get another VOP because we know many of you are interested in that at this point. There are other questions being asked as far as why are they canceling these leaves at this point? And the company notified us of the cancellation and notified us that basically saying that the flying is coming back, and it has been coming back. We've seen a lot of flying come back in the last few months. I will say we are at this point not overstaffed by any means. We are definitely understaffed right now. As far as the future and November and December, the predictions from the company and what they are telling us is that they will need all of the flight attendants back for flying because the uptick in demand is back, and that's a good thing for all of us. So I know there's a lot of questions regarding, is there going to be enough flying for everyone when everyone is back? And at this point, that is what the union is being told by American. As far as the 60 days notification, I know we've had some questions about if it's 60 days cancellation from the time frame of when you have to go to CQ or when you actually have to come back, and the 60 days is for the actual return date to flying. So they are meeting the 60 days. A lot of questions also about, is the company just canceling these EVLOAs so that then in January and February they can offer VLOAs that are unpaid? It's hard for us to answer that, quite honestly. What we've been told is that there will be enough flying. The plan is not to be overstaffed in January and February, and probably most of you have seen that there's also plans to be hiring. American is planning on hiring 800 flight attendants, I believe, for March of 2022. So I know that's not what a lot of you would like to hear right now, but that is the information we have, and that is what we have to go by at this point. I can tell you, though, as far as being overstaffed, like when you went out, we are nowhere near that at this point. We definitely need some flight attendants back to help us with the amount of flying that our block hours are increasing definitely every single month. So I think there's a few more questions. We'll get those during the Q&A session, but I hope that you know we definitely have heard from many of you. I've also heard from the base presidents regarding the VOPs. It has been asked. I will continue to ask for that, but at this point, the answer to that question is no, there will not be another VOP. So let's get started on the Q&As because we have quite a lot of questions that have been coming in. And the first question that we have is really about drug testing and fingerprinting. And Jeff, can you tell us, do the EVLOAs that are returning need to be fingerprinted or drug tested?
The short answer to that is no. They don't. Folks who are on EVLOA do not need to be fingerprinted or drug tested. So
Okay.
That's an easy answer.
In normal circumstances, there's a rare.
There's a rare occasion if you've been on, certain unpaid statuses, but in this case, our EVLOA flight attendants have been on active status,
Right.
So they don't need to be fingerprinted.
Okay, so no worries about having to be fingerprinted or drug tested. Okay, next we're going to move on to IOD questions. And Belia is here to help us today with that, thank goodness. Belia, the first question we have is, I am on an IOD, also on the 2-year EVLOA. My leave was to expire in February of 2023. I am receiving 26 hours comp pay. What will happen to that? What should I do? And if I am recalled in December, will I get paid my 26 hours for November? Oh, I'm sorry, there was a lot of questions in one. I can answer one of those. Because if you are trying to come back and you're coming back in December, then everybody who is awarded the December return will get the 26 hours of pay for November, if that's what they're getting currently. All right.
So as far as your 26 hours, it will end. And if you are still on the IOD, you will pick up where you left off. And you'll have to contact the AA IOD admin team, and you can email them at fa.iod@aa.com to let them know you're coming back so they can recode you back to the IOD. Also, in some states, if you were receiving the 26 hours of pay, Cedric may have reduced your workers' comp pay. That would increase. You would go back to what you were being paid by Cedric prior to the leave. Okay.
So just to make sure you and I are clear, because I think I said, so she would get her 26 hours of pay in November.
Right.
And December, when it's her return date and she goes back on an IOD, then at that point her 26 hours would end.
Right.
Right.
And if you have questions, just give us a call at the IOD desk or email me also, and if you have any other questions.
Okay, great. Okay, Belia, that's the only IOD question I have. How can that be? Okay.
I think very many people on the flight attendants on IOD took the EVLOA.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to leaves, okay? Marty, it looks like you're going to help us with this question. I was told that a flight attendant who took a medical leave due to non-optional surgery was given 3 attendance points. Please tell me this is not the case.
So this all falls under our attendance policy, which is found on JetNet on the flight service page. You can go on there if you want to read. They have an updated, probably since everyone left, they have an updated attendance policy on JetNet. And so with the 3 points, so basically if you're on an absence that is more than 7 days, then you accrue 2 points. Then if that absence were to span a holiday period, Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4th of July, you get an additional point for being gone during that critical period. So the most you can get, though, as a result of our attendance arbitration award is 3 points for any absence. So that's where the 3 points came from.
But if they could put in for family leave.
Exactly.
Then they would get no points.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Marty. Okay. Next question. If I need to stay out longer to care for a parent, is it possible? Marty.
So with, you could get caregiver FMLA, but I think Josh is going to help us show you where you can check your FMLA eligibility hours real quickly. So if you go on the flight service page and then check My View.
Hang on 1 second.
Yep.
Are you projecting?
Yep. Second.
You did accrue hours while Josh is pulling that up. You did accrue some hours while you were on your FMLA. Depending on how long you were out and how many hours you may have had before, you may still qualify, but there's a real easy way to check to see.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties today.
But
We haven't done this in a month or two.
It's just being real finicky.
Well, we can come back to that if,
yeah.
Got it right here.
But if you're familiar with where to check the MyView, you can check that, and as long as you have more than 504 hours, you're welcome to apply for FMLA.
okay. So I think we're ready to show them where to go.
Okay, so on your main screen, if you click on the MyView,
Technical difficulties.
right there, and they have updated this too.
Uh-oh.
Well, that's
All right.
brand new. 'Cause-
Well, let's just show them exactly where to go.
There it is.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Down a little, Josh. A little more, down there. Okay, so there's your FMLA eligible hours right there. So you can check on that, see if your eligible hours, and if you click on it, it'll tell you what you accrued for each month too, so it kind of gives you a running total of your eligibility hours. And then your FMLA paperwork is also located on Flight Service webpage, and that is under, over on that left side menu, not crew resource, thank you, Flight Attendant
Service Center.
So if you click on that one, and then you'll see right underneath the personal occupational health resources, that's where you'll see all the paperwork that you need. That's also where the attendance policy is located, and any other forms that you need.
Great. Thank you, Marty. Okay. All right, so next question. Can one still apply for an educational leave prior to November or December return to workday? How does one do this? Jeff?
That's a good question. That also, the form to put in for a leave is also on flight service. The company has stated that if you have an educational commitment with a degree program, and you had that commitment on or before July 15th, that they would accept applications for the educational leave to finish off the semester to get you through December.
You just have to provide documentation that shows that you were enrolled prior to July 15th.
On or before July 15th, correct.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Jeff. Okay. This is still on leave, and Kathy, I think you're going to help us out with this one. Would having an autoimmune disease define me as eligible for a medical leave that while cases of this variant are on the rise?
Well, you would actually, if you're under a doctor's care and with autoimmune disease, I'm sure you have multiple appointments, but you would submit a sick verification. We unfortunately have a work group that's now come up with, on their leaves, have cancer, broken legs, so things have happened. As long as you are being treated and under a doctor's care, you can apply, and you would want to submit your sick verification form that it doesn't ask for medical documentation on there. It says that you're under a doctor's care.
Okay. All right. Okay, we have another question. For special circumstances, should be allowed for any flight attendant being recalled? Can this be done on a case-by-case basis to remain on an EVLOA with pay? No, that is not possible with this, the recall of all of the EVLOAs. There are no special circumstances for some to stay out on the EVLOA. Now, we've already identified some other medical leaves, educational leave if you've enrolled, but there are no special circumstances that would allow. Remember, this was a letter of agreement, and everything in this letter of agreement was also done by seniority. And because they are calling everyone back, there are no circumstances where, let's say, you don't want to come back and someone junior to you would have to come back. In this case, everybody is coming back, so there is no allowance for any special circumstances. Okay, Jeff, let's see. We will receive an official will we receive an official notification from the company via certified letter informing us that our EVLOA has been canceled?
Yes, those letters went out on the 15th of July when the announcement went out. So they've mailed them to whatever address that you have on file. So if you haven't gotten one yet and you are subject and you are being recalled, you should update your information on JetNet just to make sure that your contact information is correct.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, the next one, and I kind of talked about this at the beginning, but I'll talk about it again. This question is the company has violated the letter of agreement with APFA by not conferring concerning the cancellation and recall of EVLOA. So when the LOA was agreed to, in that paragraph of the letter of agreement, it talks about offering to return in seniority order and then assigning to return in inverse order of seniority order. That part of the language was basically if not everybody was going to be coming back from these leaves, because we had multiple leaves out. We had the 3 different time frames. It was 15, 18, and 24-month leaves. And that part of the letter of agreement was for us to discuss how they would be returning. I will tell you we differed with the company on how they should return, but since they're calling everyone back, that does not, it doesn't matter because everybody has to come back at this time. It's not just some. So I completely understand, you know, that you're planning on staying out for, let's say, 24 months or 18 months, and that you're not happy that you're being called back at this time. And we do appreciate that you took those leaves at that time and helped us all get through the past year. But as far as following the letter of agreement, that part of it has been followed. Okay, next is, if we are awarded to return on December, do we still get paid $26.15 for November? I'm pretty sure I answered that already. Yes, you will still get the $26.15 for the month of November if you're returning in December. Okay, Marty, reserve eligibility. Going into that fun part of all of this. I'm just kidding. I know this is really a difficult topic for everybody. It's been a difficult topic for the last few years here as far as reserve is concerned. So I'm sorry, I shouldn't make light of it because at the end of the day, this is very serious. Once we go back on the line, either November or December, will the first month be an automatic reserve month?
So just like always, you're only subject to reserve if you're subject to reserve in your base. So you can check to see what seniority was assigned reserve or given reserve prior to your returning back to work, and that's on JetNet as well. And you can go under the PBS and check under there, and it gives you a list by base of what seniorities were subject to reserve. So you might want to check that out. You can also reach out to your base APFA representatives and find out how reserve has been going in different bases, just so you have a pretty good idea. But as far as being required to be on reserve just because you're returning back to EVLOA, only if your seniority is subject to reserve in your base.
And I know that a lot of the base presidents put out base briefs that broke down in your base the seniorities of the flight attendants returning from EVLOAs. And partially, I believe that was there for them to give you an idea of how many people junior to you are, you know, and to those that are working today, how many are returning at that seniority. Because reserve seniority probably will change when all the EVLOAs do come back. So it's kind of a hard question to answer.
Correct.
Yeah. Just kind of have to wait and see.
And a lot of the base presidents will be putting out, we have our staffing call next week with the company. So, you know, that'll be a good indication too. They can check that. The base presidents do put the numbers out early on. So that'll help.
Do we want to go to JetNet and show them where
Sure.
They can see that? That would be, for those that would be returning in November, they would be looking there in October, early October, right?
Right. So if you go to flight service And then under, PBS, click on that. And then, let me find that.
Over to the right, the reserve list.
The reserve, that's the one.
Yeah, one more up. One more.
There you go.
It's the reserve list. And that would give them an idea of where they're at today, right? And they could be watching that for the next couple of months.
Exactly. So that'll show the reserve list for the past few months as well.
Yeah.
And then one other thing we wanted to mention, because there weren't any other questions.
Let's make sure we clarify this, though.
Okay.
Because I know this has been a question for many. So there is a starting reserve list, and then there's the final.
Sure.
And there's a big, would want to look at the starting reserve list. The final reserve list changes because we have flight attendants that bid on to reserve. So you'll see the seniority sometimes be higher in some of the bases because we have flight attendants who do bid on to reserve. So as you're checking this to see where you sit in this reserve and the reserve status at your base, you'd want to look at on the left side here where it says at the start of the month, not on the right side.
Correct, yes. Because that's what's going to show up on your dashboard,
Right.
in PBS. And then there weren't any questions that we got about PBS bidding, but we did want to make sure and mention, if you are subject to reserve, make sure you bid on the correct calendar, because that is the #1 mistake that people have been making when they haven't sat reserve in a long time, is they bid on the regular calendar. You have to click the reserve tab and get the reserve calendar, the one that shows the little numbers on each day.
We'll make sure to put that reminder out, because I know that we've seen that quite a bit, and especially if you haven't been bidding for a while, we're going to definitely have to make sure, and maybe actually we'll have a town hall around that time for everybody coming back to refresh them on PBS and you know, reserve bidding and line holder bidding.
And holiday.
And holiday.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
All right, we'll put that on our calendars. Okay, thanks, Marty. All right. So next, we're going to move into some retirement questions. And Kim Tuck is here to help us today with this. Kim, the first question we have is, if I decide to resign, not retire, will the company pay for the vacation days that I have and for the sick hours that I have accumulated?
Well, first of all, if you're eligible to retire, I don't know why you would decide to resign, because retirement has more benefits. So if you're eligible for the 65-point plan, you should always retire rather than resign. But if you, for some reason, aren't eligible for the 65-point plan, you will not get paid for your sick time. You will get paid for your vacation.
Okay, all right, thank you. Kim, do you want to just go over the 65-point plan for everybody so they know, like you
Sure.
just said, you know, we
The
definitely want them to retire and get the 65-point, get that if they qualify for it.
Right, the 65-point plan is what makes you eligible for retiree benefits with the company, and it is your age plus your years of service based on your date of hire seniority date equals 65 or more, and you have at least 10 years of company seniority. So that's what would qualify you to be eligible for a retiree.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Okay, next question, Kim. If I retire and choose COBRA for 18 months, can I change my plan or number of dependents during the 18 months, or am I locked in?
Okay, so you can change your plan when you first go on COBRA. So when you're offered COBRA, say you're on the high cost coverage plan and you want to change to the standard plan or the core plan, you can do that when you're first offered COBRA. You don't necessarily have to stick with the plan that you're on. And then you're on COBRA for 18 months, so you'll have at least one open enrollment period where you enroll for the next plan year. So during that period of time, you could also change plans. So you'll have two opportunities during your 18 months of COBRA where you can change plans. And I think there was another question about adding or removing dependents. And under COBRA, you could still have a qualifying life event. So if you have a qualifying life event, you could add or remove dependents.
And this qualifies as a qualifying life event. I did talk to the company about that today. Okay, Kim, here's another one. It's my understanding that if I elect to retire, I don't get my retiree benefits until I'm 55. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Sure. I think that's coming from some confusion about an old retirement eligibility policy with AA that was called the 50 to 55 rule. So that doesn't exist anymore. The 65-point plan determines your eligibility to retire. And so as long as your age plus your years of service equals 65 or more, and you have the 10 years of company seniority, you are eligible to be a retiree. There's also some confusion between retirement benefits and your pension benefits. And for most of the pension plans, both LUS and LAA pension plans, you do have to be at least 55 before you can commence your pension benefits. So pension and retirement are two different things. You don't have to wait until you're 55 for retirement benefits, such as past privileges, as long as you meet the criteria for the 65-point plan, but you may have to wait until you're 55 or older to start your pension benefits. And the only group that got to start their pension earlier were those flight attendants that started out their careers with the Trump shuttle, and they're eligible to start their their pension benefits at age 52. That's the only group that can start it earlier than age 55.
Okay, and Kim, can you address, there is a question here about the penalty. Does the penalty still exist for those that start their pensions at 55? Okay,
so it's the pensions are all calculated at a certain full retirement age. So it's not really a penalty, but if you choose to start your pension early, you're stretching that pension amount over more years. So that reduces the amount of your pension. So if you start your pension prior to the full pension age, which for the LAA people is age 60, for some it's age 62, for some it's age 65. So anytime you start your pension before the full pension age, there's a 3% reduction per year prior to the full pension age. So yes, that does still exist in all of the various pension options that are out there.
Okay, thanks, Kim. All right, and here's another one. I'm under 65 but eligible to retire. I know that I will get passes and will be able to collect my frozen pension at 55. However, I'm not sure what will happen with my 401k, and also how do you find out the prices for coverage for COBRA?
Okay, so for the 401k, for everybody, that's your money, and it's going to be yours to do with, as you wish once you retire. For everybody, their 401k is frozen for the first 30 days after they retire. That's for administrative purposes. And you can leave your 401k with Fidelity for as long as you like. It has pretty good rates, and a lot of people just leave it with Fidelity and manage their investments the same way they always have. You can, after the 30 days that it's been frozen, roll it into another investment vehicle if you want to, such as an IRA. Some people do that. So there's not a time limit for doing that or anything like that. So you're pretty open on your options for your 401k.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and COBRA, there was a question about COBRA as well, sorry. The COBRA, a lot of people would like to set up their COBRA ahead of time, but you can't really do that because there's a triggering event before you're offered COBRA. So the triggering event in this situation would be you choose to retire or resign rather than returning from the EVLOA. That your resignation or your retirement date will trigger the COBRA offer, and it will probably take the company a couple of weeks to send you a COBRA packet in the mail. And during that time, your benefits will lapse. But once you sign up for the COBRA coverage, that will be retro back to your date of retirement or resignation, and it will be as though you've had continuous coverage the whole time. There is an option for going online sooner, usually about 5 to 7 days after you resign or retire, in the retirees website. And I think there's a backdoor for people that resign instead of retire. You can get on the benefits website and you can make your COBRA elections that way a little bit more quickly than waiting for the package to come in the mail.
Okay, great. Okay, Kim, I've got a couple more for you. How long in advance do I begin this process? Who do I contact? And will I be paid for the vacation days I earned in 2021 for use in 2022?
Okay, so when you retire, you're paid out for all of your vacation that you've bid for, any vacation that you've earned but you haven't bid for it, you're paid out at the active rate of 4 hours per day at your rate of pay, as long as your vacation is 7 days or more. And I think most people who went on the EVLOAs probably have at least 7 days of vacation. If there's someone who has less than 7 days of vacation, they'll be paid out at 3.5 hours per day at their rate of pay. As far as timing on retirement, if you know everybody returning from the EVLOA or retiring rather than returning from the EVLOA will know probably the first week of August, whether it's going to be November or December. And so we suggest that people request their pension paperwork from either the PBGC or from the AA pension benefits group 90 days prior to their retirement. So you have time to do that. If you're going to retire on November 1st, you could request it on August 1st. If you're going to retire on December 1st, you could request it on September 1st, and that's the 90 days. If you're Medicare eligible, you need to set up Medicare, and there's a form you have to send in to do that to the company. And we recommend you start the whole process of setting up your Medicare about 60 days out. And then normally you have to give notice to your flight service manager between 30 days and 2 weeks ahead of your retirement date. But this whole process is going to, if you choose retirement, you're going to be letting the company know that you intend to retire. So you don't really have to worry about the notification piece. However, it might be nice if you have a good relationship with your manager to give them a heads up that you plan to retire.
Okay, Kim, thank you for that. Okay, and let's see here. If you choose retirement, does your EVLOA pay continue until separation from the company or stop immediately?
Okay, we've had quite a few questions about this. If you choose retirement, a lot of people have been confused because it doesn't show either a November or a December choice. So if you choose retirement, you will be retired on either November 1st or December 1st, according to what your seniority would have held in the balloting process. So they're going to look at who held November and who held December and slot your seniority numbers in there, and that's when you're going to be retiring. Also, you will be paid up until that time. So if you're retiring on December 1st, you'll be paid for the month of November, and then you'll retire. If you're retiring on November 1st, you'll be paid through the end of October, and then you'll retire.
Okay, thanks, Kim. All right, I've got 2 more for you, Kim. My retirement begins October 1st. When will the company send documents for COBRA enrollment and the process for drawing out of the medical expense fund? I think you did cover this. Will COBRA start October 1st or January 1st? I don't plan on drawing retirement for another 8 years or so. Do I need to decide now which is the best choice to make or wait until then?
Right. So I did address the COBRA that the company will send out a package a couple of weeks after you retire, but you can go on the retirees website a little bit sooner and make your elections online. And that's usually quicker, or more people decide to do it that way. As far as choices about your pension, if you don't intend to take it for another 8 years, you can't request your pension paperwork more than 90 days out from the date that you intend to commence your pension benefits. So it would be too early to request your pension paperwork. However, you could always request a pension estimate before you retire so that you'll have a general idea of how much your pension benefits are going to be when you do commence those benefits. Did I get everything?
I think you did. Thank you. Okay, and this last question is, can I use my 1095C form that we get each year to show our medical coverage when I apply for Part B of Medicare upon retirement? I'm already on Part A. Or do I need a credible coverage letter from American Human Resources Department?
Okay, so what Medicare/Social Security want to see when you're signing up for Medicare after the age of 65 is neither of those things. It's an actual Medicare form. It's called CMS-L564. And you would need that for yourself and for your spouse if your spouse is Medicare eligible. You can get that from the Medicare website, so medicare.gov, or you can get it from JetNet, or you can email or call me and I'll be happy to send it to you. You fax it into Alight, which is the Benefits Service Center, and there's a portion that you fill out first. You fax it into Alight, and then the company will mail it back to you, and you can take it when you're signing up for Part B if you're over the age of 65, and that way you won't be assessed any late enrollment penalties. So you can also upload the form on JetNet. That's a newer option, but you can do it that way as well. We usually recommend that you do this about 60 days prior to your retirement date. That gives you plenty of time to talk to a Medicare advisor and make your choices about what Medicare plans you want to choose.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kim. It sounds like we might need another retirement town hall because a lot of the questions are retirement. Okay, let's move on. We're moving on to scheduling, staffing, and allocations. How many flight attendants is AA allotting to come back in each month, November and December? Or what percent do they need each month so we can best plan our return? Marty, you want to take that?
Well, I guess we've had several conversations. The company has never really given us a definitive answer because they've waited for staffing and the manpower planning to come up with answers, and they're still reviewing what kind of flying there's going to be. They keep saying it's going to be a huge increase, but they haven't given us specific numbers. I'm guessing probably 50-50, maybe a little bit more towards the November side than anything, but we didn't get a final answer.
We do know that the majority of flight attendants are requesting a December return.
I do know that, yeah.
So most likely, if you're junior and you want a December, you might possibly have to come back in November.
Right.
Because we don't see a lot who are bidding for November.
Right. I think most people want to put it off as long as possible, and rightfully so.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the next question is a question regarding, and I kind of answered this at the beginning, about them canceling these EVLOAs and not really, not knowing with the Delta variant what things are going to look like in the future. And we understand definitely the question as far as, why is the company canceling these EVLOAs now for November and December when we're still in uncertainty as far as COVID is concerned. And a lot of this, as far as what we've been told, is that the block hours are going to continuously increase for the coming months. I mean, we know everything has been full. International is still not fully back. That is what we are, all hoping for soon. But it does appear, I shouldn't say it does appear, but what we are being told is we will need all 3,200 back in November and December. Okay, next questions are about the some of the like tablet and IDs. What is the policy for returning the crew ID upon retiring? Can it be mailed in? Kim, you want to take that?
Sorry, sure, I'll take that one.
That's okay.
So basically, if you, sorry?
Go ahead, Kim.
If you decide to retire and you can't get back to base, you can normally contact your flight service manager and make arrangements for them to either send you a FedEx link or a FedEx label so you can return your company issued property, such as your ID, your parking pass, and your tablet and all that stuff.
Great. Thanks, Kim. Okay, is there a timeline when we will receive our tablets in the mail? And when can we get our parking passes? Marty?
So the company has said that they're going to start mailing those out in August, and then they'll continue that process through September. And we would like to remind everybody to check and make sure that their address is correct on file with the company, because they will be mailing it out to the address that was on file at the time you took your EVLOA.
And what about those parking passes?
The parking, anything to do with parking, you need to talk to your base about parking. And I will say that during COVID, there were a lot of changes with parking, so, you know, we can't keep up with everything that happened at every single base, but, you know, it was a lot, so.
So they should be contacting their FSM.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, all the parking, there's a lot of changes to parking, as far as where flight attendants are parking.
Right.
Okay, I believe that has been answered. Okay, since we have to attend CQ a couple of months prior to our first bid month, is there any way to get our KCM badge back for CQ travel? So, yeah, Marty?
Well, I'll answer that because you're going to be on for a lot with training and the other stuff. So the KCM, they've said that they will activate that, hopefully on the day that you're due to return back to work, if not shortly after the time that you're supposed to be able to come back to work. So
meaning come back to work, meaning November, December.
1st or December 1st, yeah.
Not for CQ.
No. So, but you can't go through the employee line if you have your ID. You know, you could do that if your ID is current. So if you pick that up first, that's an option.
Right.
Better than nothing.
Okay. Thanks, Marty. Okay, Jeff, Marty was right. You've got a lot of talking to do here.
All right.
Okay, so CQ training. In what order of seniority, if any, will training be assigned for the returning EVLOAs? And how will it be determined who goes to training first?
Well, first of all, if you are not QI, if you're current, you are not going to be assigned training, you're not going to be drafted to do anything. And if you are coming up this fall, if it's your base month, for example, in September, you could bid in TBS in August to attend training in September. The same would be if you were, you know, if your base month is October, you could bid in September to go in October. A lot of the people on EVLOA, though, are in fact QI. So to speak to that question, the people, if you are slated for a November return and you are QI, you would be, you know, prioritized for training starting in August. So it would be the most junior people who were returning in November who would potentially be assigned training in August or September. But they're going to start roughly the second week of August, assigning, once they've processed all the awards for the returns, they're going to start assigning training classes soon after that, starting roughly the second week of August.
Okay. All right. So they can use TBS.
You can use TBS if you're not QI. If you
Remind us the date, so TBS.
TBS is open from the 1st to the 6th of the month to bid for training for the following month, if it is your base or your grace month.
So anybody who kept their quals during it.
If you kept your quals and, you know, your training, your base month is coming up, use TBS. They're not going to assign you anything unless you fail to bid.
Once they assign them training, if they need to change it.
You can always change your training by contacting TSD either via the live chat or using the form, the training enrollment form on Comply 365.
Okay. Thank you. All right. When will we need to go to training if returning to a new base with different training requirements? Will we be made to attend training prior to, so this is basically for our best training for, if, let's say I'm not qualified on the 777. So do you know if they'll be assigning that with CQ?
Well, you would have to have your qualifications current in order to attend any line training, any aircraft training, so I don't think it's going to go concurrent. If you wanted to go at the same time you're going to CQ, then, you know, you would have to make sure you're current on CQ before you can attend the aircraft training. But they haven't given us any information on assigning anybody aircraft training at this point, and they wouldn't do it before, you know, they wouldn't be assigned any training prior to coming back.
It is a good question, though. I think we should look into that, because especially if I'm coming to Dallas, CQ, and I can get qualified and then just stay here and get my, you know, aircraft training, then it'd be a lot better than having to come down here a second time, right? So let's look into that. Maybe we can put that out on the hotline or something. And I don't recall if that's in the company fax. It's not.
Yeah.
So, all right. We'll look into that and see if we can find out more information for them. Okay. Let's see. It looks like a lot of these are about the same questions regarding training. Okay, I'm on an EVLOA and due to return in November or December. I normally buddy bid in my base month. Am I still able to do this regardless if their status is not EVLOA? Is there anything I can do to prevent getting assigned CQ earlier than my base month?
So to buddy bidding, you can still buddy bid. You're still using the TBS system as you normally would, so it wouldn't matter that their status is not, you know, not on EVLOA, as long as you're both in the same base status. If you're in the same base month, you could buddy bid together. But you're not going to be assigned training earlier than your base month. To put that one to rest, if your base month is November, they're not going to assign you training in October, for example.
Okay. Okay, this says, will drills from last year be required at CQ in addition to this year's? I have seen conflicting information.
If you are QI and you didn't attend the last program, then yes, you would need to do any drills that you haven't done so far. So yes.
So the drills that they did last year, they will have to do, right?
Drills that were conducted, yeah, the drills that were required last year, if you didn't do them,
right,
you need to do them.
And those will be listed on the training tab, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, most of these are, let's move on to transfers, because I know we're running out of time here. Okay, I'm a Phoenix displaced flight attendant applied for a priority return. My CQ has lapsed and I cannot be trained on the 777 now required for Phoenix until I go through recurrent. If Phoenix vacancies become available, is this going to disqualify me from being able to return even though I was involuntarily displaced? Yeah.
Anytime there's a vacancy transfer and you're not qualified on required equipment at the base, you have up until the effective date of the transfer to complete any required aircraft training. So in this case, if you need 777, you can still be awarded the transfer. You would just be expected to attend the training prior to the effective date.
Thank you. Okay, this is another transfer question. I moved from DC to North Carolina while on an LOA. I'm presently based in Philly, but want to transfer to Charlotte. I was not allowed to transfer while on the LOA. Will I be able to transfer now that the LOAs have been canceled before I return to active status?
So this one's kind of complicated. So if you miss it while we're talking about it, then you can go on the company FAQs and it will explain the process in writing a little bit better, so the dates will make a little bit more sense. Because when you're talking about 2 months out, you know, it does start getting, so I'm just basically going to read from this one, and it says that you can put your transfer request at any time. So right now you could go ahead and put in a transfer request if you'd like to. It needs to be in no later than the 26th of the month, so by 8:30 a.m., and that's for both vacancy and mutual transfer awards, and then they're posted on the 27th. So it says, if you're returning in November and you want to be considered for a transfer effective as early as November, your transfer request needs to be in by 8:30 Central Time, 08:30 Central Time on August 26th. If you want one for December, you're returning in December, then it needs to be in at 08:30 Central Time on September 26th. So for
Great.
transfers.
Yep. Thank you. It looks like we have quite a few of those type of questions, so a lot have moved during their EVLOA. Okay, this question is, are we returning in either November or December? If I submit a transfer request, can I be recalled sooner than November or December if the transfer goes through? No. No, so you won't be able to get a transfer until your date of return, so which will be November or December. Okay, let's move on to uniforms. And Jeff, maybe you can just give us overall information regarding flight attendants who need to get uniform pieces prior to returning to flying.
Yes, if you need, so they're not going to activate your access to the Lands End website prior to your return. However, if you do need to order pieces before then, you can email Bianca Jasso at the company, and her email is Bianca, B-I-A-N-C-A, .jasso, J-A-S-S-O, @aa.com. Her email address is also listed in the company FAQs. But she's, you know, we've double and triple checked with the company as far as this process, and they state that she will be able to facilitate ordering any uniform pieces that you need before your return.
Right.
Because we've gotten a lot of interest in ordering uniform pieces prior to the end of leave.
So Josh is going to put that on the chat, right? Bianca's email address. And I think we should probably put also the IOD email address in. Do you have that in there yet? Because we want to make sure all the flight attendants have that. And the IOD that you sent, you said earlier is FA, I have it right here.
FAIOD@AA.com.
FAIOD@AA.com. So those are in the chat for you. So we did ask if they would allow, you know, they would open up the Lands End for the EVLOAs, and at this point the answer is no. We'll continue to work on that because we know that's an easier way to take care of this. If you do have issues, because it looks like we do have some that have said they've not heard back from Bianca, please let us know, and we will let the company know that, you know, the process that they have given the EVLOAs for the EVLOA flight attendants is not working. Okay, uniforms, let's see here. Points. Do you want to talk about points at all for those that have been out?
So the eligibility for the uniform dollars is based on your paid hours and status. So I don't.
Where do they look to see their points?
Their points are going to be in.
It's on the.
You just looked yesterday.
I did. I looked and mine are wrong. So make sure you look yours up before all of this too, because they didn't necessarily carry over a lot of people. I've heard from several people that they're incorrect. So you, if you go on the flight service page and then you go under image on the left side menu, it gives you step-by-step how to order uniforms, how to order luggage. And then once you log into the website, you just click on your name, and then it'll show you how many points you have or how many dollars.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right under image.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Down there in all of this where it says how to order female, how to order luggage, how to order male. Fitting
Alteration.
maternity,
Yeah.
uniforms,
okay.
it's all on there. And that ordering website, when you click on that link, it'll take you right there and you just have to log in. And if you've forgotten, it's really
They can't use that yet, but they can use this,
correct.
right, to see if they have the right number of points.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And while you're there, Josh, do you want to just show them the link on where all the FAQs for the company are?
Sure.
And then we can show them APFA. Thank you for reminding
Okay, and then we have some vacation questions.
It's over to the far right, up at the top, that blue box. If you click on that, It gives you a lot of preliminary information about the ballot and that sort of thing, and then it also has a link where you can check the, takes you to the FAQs right there. You just scroll past, online FAQ, yeah. And it's quite a lengthy document. I think it's, what, 12 pages or at least? Yeah, it's quite a good document. It's very, just has links to just about everything that you need.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a few minutes left. Can we talk about vacation?
Yes.
Because we know that we've had a lot of questions regarding vacation, monthly rebid, right, and how that works. So Jeff, do you want to kind of give us an overall first, and then I'll see if you hit all of the topics.
So the overall gist of vacation, if you had vacation that was scheduled during your EVLOA, so let's say you had vacation scheduled in June of this year and you've been out on EVLOA, your June vacation would have canceled and it would go into your unscheduled column. And you can either rebid for that during any time, for any period that falls outside of your EVLOA, but within this vacation cycle, the 2021-22 vacation cycle, you could use the monthly rebid process, which happens every single month from the 1st to the 10th of the month is the rebid period. So for example, the next rebid would be August 1st through the 10th, and we bid at least 2 months out. So we'd be bidding for anything from October to the end of the vacation cycle in August. If you have vacation that is scheduled, that's now going to be outside of your EVLOA, so you were scheduled to be out through the end of next year, let's say, and you had vacation in March, that's no longer, that's going to remain on your schedule. And so you can either take it in March, or you could also bid to have it, you could rebid it to any other period that falls outside of your EVLOA. If you had...
So first, let's make sure they know where to go. Right, so they would go to Crew Portal, right, and they would go to Vacation.
Go to monthly, if you're in Crew Portal.
Yeah.
Because I know if you haven't been looking at all of this in a while, right, we want to make sure they know where to go. So let's go to Crew Portal.
Go to monthly bids.
Up to monthly bids. You got it?
Yeah.
Then click on Vacation.
Click on it, there we go. Okay, and then...
Well, this is what yours is, since you have admin access. So if you type in, say, if you want to type in my employee number, 565621.
Normally, you wouldn't see this.
Normally, this is, so that's me. And so I have, you know, I've had 31 days. If I had any days that had been canceled during my EVLOA, they would show under the unscheduled balance.
So he has original accrual, 31, and then under unscheduled balance, can you go up to the left, Josh, over there, so you can show that, right, on the, do you see unscheduled balance? Up.
There.
Right there, yep. So if I had vacation that fell inside my EVLOA, that's where the unscheduled or the canceled days would be showing.
Okay, and then they can use monthly rebid.
You can use monthly rebid to...
Which is over on the right, to be able to get in and to be able to rebid their vacation.
Yeah. Well, if you wanted to actually, if you go down to the middle there where it says monthly rebid, if you wanted to,
there you go.
Maybe actually where you can add and view your ballots.
Okay.
And if I have unscheduled days, but I don't use the monthly rebid, they would end up carrying forward. So I don't have any carry forward balance from last year, so that's why there's a 0 there. But because many people have been on EVLOAs through a good chunk of the current cycle, you know, the prior cycle and this cycle, if you carry days forward from last year into this year, that's where the balance shows there.
So then they will go to, if they don't bid those unscheduled days, vacation days, then they will carry forward to next year.
Yes, and then you can bid for those in the secondary round of vacation bidding for the 2022-2023 cycle.
Which opens in February.
Which will not be till February.
And there might be possibly yearly, monthly, or yearly vacation buyback.
Well, there will be vacation yearly buyback.
I mean, we don't know how many.
We don't know how much, but
they could always try and also have some of the vacation bought back then.
Yes.
In January, when that occurs. Okay.
And if they have any questions about their vacation, if there's, you know, they've looked and you see that your numbers aren't matching up to what you think they ought to be, you can always reach out to fa.vacations, plural, vacations@aa.com.
So they can do this now, and they can rebid vacation out let's say I'm returning in November,
Mhm.
so I can be utilizing monthly vacation rebid now to move a vacation or unscheduled days into November,
Mhm.
into December, right?
Yep.
Or all the way through April
Yeah.
next year.
And that's what we've seen a lot of. A lot of people actually have a lot of time that is now scheduled in next year towards the end of our current vacation cycle. So a friend of mine in New York, she has like 41 consecutive days scheduled from like February to March. So now that she's coming back early, she could bid to move some of that to December, for example, if she comes back.
So I can use this today.
Yes,
Okay.
use this today.
All right. And what was the time frame for them to use this to change their vacation that's 2 months out?
It's 2 months out, and the rebid process happens every month from the 1st to the 10th. So the next rebid process will be August 1st to August 10th, and that will be bidding for anything October through the end of the vacation
For
cycle.
them, it would be if they had it in October,
They could be
move
bidding it for to November or December.
Right.
Any period that falls outside of your EVLOA.
Okay.
Can't move anything inside your EVLOA or move from without to within, but anything outside of your EVLOA.
So you can move vacation that I have in October, because that's when I bid it.
Yep.
Even though I'm not returning till November, I can move that October to November or later if I'm
Yeah.
returning in November.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right, so monthly vacation rebid they can do, the carry forward days. I'm trying to think if there's anything else here. A lot. Okay, like this question, I have 5 days of vacation. Will I have an opportunity to bid for it, or will they just pay me? So if they have 5 days of vacation that's on this side of November, let's say they're returning in November, right, and they do nothing with it,
Mhm.
then what happens to those 5 days of vacation? They go into their unscheduled?
If that vacation falls within their EVLOA, it would go unscheduled, and they can either use the monthly rebid process to bid it within the current cycle, or it would carry forward and you could use it next year.
Okay, so she's asking if she would be just paid out for it.
You will not just be paid out for it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, I think we've covered vacation. I think we've covered actually almost every topic, and we had a lot of questions. I know we've had a lot of questions that are coming in, and we have 2 of our contract scheduling reps who have been trying to answer as quickly as possible all of the questions that are coming in. I will say we will, from this, I believe we need to make sure we schedule a town hall for PBS bidding, a refresher for everyone, even if for reserve or for line holders, and maybe also a retirement town hall, because it sounds like we had a lot of questions on retirement. I hope this was helpful to you today. I know that, from the questions, there are a lot of you who are not happy about being called back earlier than your end date for your leave, and we completely understand your angst on that. It is, as all of you know, the last year plus has been really a huge time of uncertainty for the airline, for our professions, and really we've been trying to manage through this as best as we can. And I know that you have helped us tremendously to get through this time frame. We completely understand that many of you would like to take a VOP if offered, and we will keep asking for that. We understand where you're at, and especially at the time that the last VOP was offered, you weren't, many of you probably weren't ready to take it at that time. But please know that we will continue to ask on that. We will try and get you as much information as we possibly can for those of you who are planning to return, and try and help you with this process in every way we can. Through Town Hall, through our hotlines, please make sure you're signed up for the hotlines. We're putting a lot of information out, and we'll keep an eye on everything and make sure if we need to set up a different type of town hall other than PBS refresher and retirement, that we do. So with that, thank you very much for joining us today, and be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.